Meanwhile, at a Donald Trump rally in Janesville. Now, this gets very, very interesting. Janesville, Wisconsin, is Paul Ryan's hometown. So, according to this Mary Bottari writing over at Huffington Post Politics, Donald Trump landed in Wisconsin Tuesday, turning out a huge crowd in Janesville, Paul Ryan's hometown, just because he could. According to Politico, Trump chose the location hours after Speaker Ryan chastised him for the tenor of his campaign. Scott Walker, by the way, the governor of Wisconsin, endorsed Ted Cruz Tuesday morning, but Scott Walker's approval ratings are at 40%, which is pretty bad, one of the worst for any governor in the nation. So Donald Trump comes out and he says, he's not doing such a good job, Scott Walker, but he's convinced you there's no problem. Both Walker and Cruz want the TPP. That would hit Wisconsin so hard. And then he made fun of Scott Walker's, saying that he likes to drive his Harley, right? And he says, he doesn't look like a biker to me. And then he goes after the Club for Growth, the Koch brothers outfit, which is now attacking him. He talks about a representative from the Club for Growth had met with him and asked him for $1 million. And here's the quote. This is Donald Trump. He says, he writes me a note asking for $1 million. Now they're doing ads all over Wisconsin on eminent domain. By the way, without eminent domain, you would not have schools, roads, or hospitals. But they're complaining about eminent domain, which is kind of funny because these people love the Keystone Pipeline, which is all about eminent domain. And then he turns to the crowd. This is fascinating stuff, right? This is the leading Republican candidate for president, who I'm telling you, by the way, is not going to be the Republican candidate for president. There's no way the Republican Party is going to let Donald Trump be the nominee. It just is not going to happen. But right now, he's the leading candidate. And he says, do you guys like Paul Ryan? To the crowd. And Ryan is not only the Speaker of the House of Representatives, not only, the third most, he's number 3 or number 2, actually, from the presidency, president, vice president, Speaker of the House, or in terms of order of secession, one of the most powerful men in Washington, D.C. But he's also representing Janesville, the town where this is where he grew up. This is his power base. This is his voter base. He represents Janesville, Wisconsin. And Donald Trump is in Janesville. And he says to this group, he says, do you guys like Paul Ryan? And people start yelling, booing and yelling, no. And then Trump, who was clearly expecting them to say yes, he says, really? I was told not to criticize him here. He is the speaker. He's very nice. Wow, are you sure you're all Republicans? Are you mostly conservatives? Well, it turns out CMD spoke to, many of the people CMD spoke to outside the venue called themselves independents. One was torn between Trump and Sanders, and some others were at the first political event of their lives. See, what this is, this whole Trump phenomena, is a demonstration of what happens when a political party, in this case the Republican Party, is entirely bought out by the billionaire class. And it just, it's blowing up in their face. At that rally, by the way, there was a 15-year-old girl. This was yesterday in Janesville, Wisconsin, or the day before yesterday, in Janesville, Wisconsin. A 15-year-old young woman who was there to protest Donald Trump's presence. She was sexually assaulted by one man in the crowd, by one Trump supporter, and then pepper sprayed in the face by another man. They have pictures of these two men. They're looking for them, and as she's pushing her way out of the crowd, people are yelling the B word at her and calling her, and this is a verbatim quote, God, I don't even want to say this. It's a G-damn communist N-word lover. I can't even say it on the radio, and yet, it's like, yeah, make America hate again. Really? And then finally, a fascinating John Elijon in today's New York Times. Before a Trump rally, protesters lay plans behind the scenes. Did you know that Trump has a group of volunteers who are always dressed in black, and they're called the Trump Sentries? Loyalists who are looking for protesters? The brown shirts have arrived.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-536-2370.
Well, in this case, they're the black suits. Very, very interesting.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.